Hello, my name is John Rose, and in this video I'd like to take a closer look at the flaws in the flat earth theory. Now, in order to find the flaws in the flat earth theory, we need to use logic, and we need to use a very special teaching tool that I created that uses 3 stages of knowledge. Once we understand these 3 stages of knowledge, and once we understand that there are 2 tests that the flat earth theory or belief must pass, we can easily show the flaws. Now, I've identified certain pieces in my ultimate schematic, this tool I created, and we're going to be using those piece numbers to help you understand where all the pieces fit. One piece number would be piece 33. And remember, my 6-box system, there's 3 stages of knowledge: first stage, second stage, and third stage. In the first stage, that's where knowledge is acquired. This is where we have knowledge of how to live. We have 2 groups of needs, pieces 22 to 35. 12 essential needs, piece 33 is the environment. And then there are 11 ways we interact with our environment. And then there's 2 groups of needs, or there's 2 additional temporary needs, and this other group of needs that we must satisfy. So when we look at the flat earth theory, the first thing we have to do is identify it. Where is it on my schematic? What piece number is it? Well, it's part of piece 33. That's our environment. That's the earth. Is the earth flat or is it round? So we're going to find out how to prove, using logic, whether or not there's any validity to this flat earth belief. And going back to logic, remember there are 2 criteria, or 2 requirements that we must use to use logic. There are 2 tests that people have to pass to use logic. One has to do with the contents, or the specifics, or the details, and we can call that a train. And then the other has to do with the structure, and we can call that the tracks. Now the thing about the structure, it's always one directional. That's the key. It's always one directional, like an ordered pair is one directional. Remember, my special teaching tool uses knowledge in a way that's never been seen before. It uses these 3 stages of knowledge. And I'm using 2 sequential ordered pairs, and that's not complicated, because A and B and C are 2 sequential ordered pairs. It's just like 1 and 2 and 3 are 2 sequential ordered pairs, and they can be combined to A, B, C, and 1, 2, 3. Just like what we think and what we do is an ordered pair, and what we do and what we get is an ordered pair. That's cause and effect. That's action-reaction, ordered pairs. Now this is important because when we look at what the flat earth theory is proposing, that the earth is flat and not round, we go, okay, piece number 33, what happens to piece number 3? It's one of our needs. How do we satisfy our needs? We don't pollute our environment. And mainly we interacted with the right way, but that's the other 11 pieces. But we look at piece 33 in the plus A box analogy. If we don't make bad applications, we get a 72. That's a good environment. And then we end up with 101, positive effects. But if we somehow pollute our environment, we come down here with a 92. That's a negative cause, and we get a negative effect, a problem, a 103. So the thing we have to understand about the environment is that the environment is what we got. It's in that 3rd stage of knowledge. Remember, there's a ripple effect where effects become cause, as in the causal loop. And if we're in the top graph, if we get a 101, that becomes a 113. But there's also a knowledge loop where the 101 becomes a 114. That's what we have to do. We have to complete the positive knowledge loop to get out of the hell we're in right now. And I've talked about this before, and hopefully I'll come back to it before I finish today. But in the meantime, what we have to understand is what we got becomes what we got, or is how we start off things. So this also goes back to one of my videos where I explained that there are 6 factors that affect our behavior. There are the past moments, the current moment, and the 4 current status factors. So our past moments includes everything that happened to us in the past, and that includes before we're born. So that includes piece 33, the environment, the earth. Is it flat or is it round? Okay, it's in the 1st stage of knowledge. What can the environment do to us in the 2nd stage of knowledge? Well, we can have acts of nature. That's piece 100, or that's piece 100. So I've identified where that's at. But otherwise, that's the only way the environment is going to cause something. Otherwise, there is no stage 2 for environment except for these acts of nature. In other words, it doesn't matter if the earth is flat or if it's round in the 2nd stage of knowledge. Now this is where the logic comes into play. Remember, when we use logic to test One is the contents, that's the train, that's the details, that's where it gets complicated. There's 200 proofs. I dare you to find an error in that piece 8.2. Don't go looking for logical fallacies in a system or a belief system that already has an invalid structure. Guess what, flat earthers? You got an invalid structure, buddy. You're putting the cart before the horse. There is no stage 2. You're just like allopathic medicine that's guilty of piece 8.2. This is the purpose why I created my special teaching tool, to show the logical flaws in the systems in charge that are controlling us. It's a distraction. It's all a distraction. Allopathic medicine is putting the cart before the horse. They're guilty of what's called in Latin monus ponens, so they can't pass one of the 2 tests in logic. Remember, I know this sounds a little complicated, but it's really simple. 2 tests we got to pass. Can't have any logical fallacies in the details. Oh my God, I can't find a flaw in the flat earth. I can't find a flaw in medicine. But guess what? The structure is invalid. Why? Because they're putting the cart before the horse. And in the case of the flat earthers, there is no stage 2. It's just stage 3. So that's monus ponens. That's what doctors do. They focus on the effect. Remember, I want to make things simple in my special teaching tool. So when I got to the 3rd stage of knowledge in the wrong path, in hell, in Plato's cave, I only have 2 piece numbers, 103 and 104. I hid all those factors in 103. That's where we have the other 19 pieces right before that, pieces 81 to 99. 81 to 94, that's the 2 groups of needs, 12 essential, 2 additional. And then 95 to 99 are the 5 big mistakes we're making. But anyway, that comes into 103, so I wanted to make things simple. Don't go looking into 103. 103 is a rabbit hole. Allopathic medicine is a rabbit hole. What they do, everything in 103 is within our control. You don't look at 103. This is where we put the cart before the horse. So 103s are problems within our control, right? And if you have a problem within your control, you don't treat the symptom. You work backwards, you go upstream, you look at what you're doing in the 2nd stage of knowledge. And then you look at what you believe in the 1st stage of knowledge. So allopathic medicine is guilty of monus ponens. They're putting the cart before the horse for a problem that's within our control, and they trick us and they deceive us by naming the symptom. Don't name the symptom, the 103. Cancer research is a rabbit hole. What? How can cancer research be a rabbit hole? What, are you crazy? You don't want to find a cure for cancer? It's a rabbit hole because there are no chemical solutions for lifestyle-related problems. It's a rabbit hole. Flat Earth, it's a rabbit hole. There's nothing a flat Earth is going to do to us in the 2nd stage of knowledge. It's a rabbit hole. It has an invalid structure, don't you see? It's only in the 3rd stage of knowledge. There is no 2nd stage of knowledge for flat earthers, except for piece 100 when we have an accident, an act of nature. That's what piece 100 is. Accidents and acts of nature. These are problems. These are things that happen to us that are outside of our control. Otherwise, those other factors in the 2nd stage of knowledge are within our control, and that goes to 103. So we don't want to be distracted and look at 103, at the details, unless they're life-threatening. That's a distraction. It's a sleight of hand, don't you see? Cause and effect, don't you see how that works? Doctors focus on the effect, don't look at the cause. Well, we don't know the cause, but we'll hide it over here. The effect, the effect, the effect. Name the effect, not the cause. Go to a doctor and they're going to say you have this itis and that itis and this OMO, whatever. Come to me, I'm going to say you're eating the wrong food, you're not getting sunshine, you're not exercising. Go to the cause, not the effect. Okay, so flat Earth. It's a 3rd stage, buddy. There's no 2nd stage. You don't have a valid structure. I don't need to look at your 200 proofs. That's piece 8.2. I've identified 8 ways we use the wrong approach. I'll put a link down below that ties into 11-part video series I did where I identified all 281 pieces to my special teaching tool. And this is where I talk about the 8 ways we use the wrong approach. Piece 8.1 is when we expect systems to solve problems that only we can solve, and that's where doing a solid food vacation comes into play, because when we do that, we realize we are the solution. Those systems aren't the right solution. We're using the wrong approach. We expect the allopathic doctors to solve the problems, but they didn't have the answers. 8.2 is when we look for logical fallacies in systems with invalid structures. I already talked about this in other videos. That's what flat Earth is. You've got an invalid structure. I don't need to look at those 200 proofs. That's a distraction. Just like allopathic medicine, sleight of hand, name the symptom. Name the symptom syndrome. Find the logical fallacies in my 200 proofs. Screw your logical fallacies. You got an invalid structure, man. The accidents that happen to us, flat Earth, round Earth, not a factor. It doesn't matter. It's a distraction. So, how do you, when you want to prove something, the whole purpose of this, I want you to understand. When someone asks you to prove something, and they say, I got all these things, find a hole in it, find a mistake. Say, no, wait a second. There's 2 tests we got to take. Take the easy one first. Looking for the logical fallacies is complicated. In order to use logic, you got to pass both tests. Get them to fail the first test, and you don't have to worry. You don't need to find the logical fallacies with allopathic medicine. They have an invalid structure. Monus ponens. They're putting the cart before the horse for a problem with inner control. Flat Earth, no different. There's no second stage to Flat Earth. You go straight from the first stage. That's what we got. That becomes how we start our journey. But the only thing that the Flat Earth can do to us is something outside of control. So we wouldn't want to focus on it anyway. We would have to focus on the symptom then. But otherwise, it's a distraction. So, make things simple. Use the method Sherlock Holmes would use. You exclude the impossible, and then whatever remains is what you need to choose from. Not saying it's amongst what you got left, unless you know you got all the pieces. But the main thing is exclude the impossible. I think my bike is slowly moving, I think. My steering wheel. I've been using, when I come out like this, I'm using my bike as a tripod. And this is the first time I'm on an uneven level. So I guess I need to close this out. What's the solution? Well, most of our problems are 103s, are within our control. There's time for a solid food vacation. Go down below and watch the seminar I gave on how to do a solid food vacation. Listen to Dr. Robo if you haven't heard him yet. Watch the Debunked show. Tell everybody you know that it's fun to entertain whether there's a logical fallacy in a system with an invalid structure just for the heck of it. If you got nothing better to do and it's peacetime, there's a war going on right now. We don't want to waste our time going down a rabbit hole. I'm telling you, it's a rabbit hole. Searching for a cure for cancer is a rabbit hole. If you participate in events where you do runs to find the cure for a cancer, you're part of the problem because you're giving energy and money to a cause that gets us going the wrong way. So it's time to turn things around. It's time for you trim tabs to get out there and keep kicking butt. Dang it, all the heck, I've been watching some videos today. I am really impressed with some of you guys and what you're doing. Can't even believe I watched the video today. I hadn't watched any of this guys yet. Good job, man. You know who I'm talking about. You did a great video the other day. Anyway, keep up the great work. Keep sharing your experiences and tell everybody that when they do this, they're in for a treat.